Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you all this morning for another motivational morning. Welcome to my studio in my spare bedroom. I'm here again and I want to do some craft with you this morning. So I've got loads of things. I've got my buttons at the ready. I love this button. So I've got my button tin. You'll need buttons, chalk or a pen. So we've got chalk to mark out our fabric. You'll also need some needles. And what else will you need? You'll need some scissors. So you can run around the house collecting all of those things. And some fabric and buttons. But before we start, I wanted to show you, let's have a look what we've got in my box of wonder this morning. I brought some fabric examples to show you. Do wave or say hi if you've just logged in to join us. It's great to see you this morning. I've got some examples to show you of different types of fabric jewellery. I'm a little bit of an enthusiast, so this is a lovely one that I got given that's crocheted onto a metal jewellery, like a necklace, and that's a great example of how you can incorporate fabric and jewellery together. Let's have a look what else I've got. Another way is putting fabric over existing beads. If you've got old beads that they're getting a bit sorry for themselves, you can use a strip of fabric and just wrap it over a knot between each bead. I love that one. That's one of my favourite necklaces. So there's that one. Let's have a look what else. Oh, I quite like this as well. So this one is, they've used fabric to wrap around some cord, and that's a really nice way of doing it as well. So we've got fabric like that. This is a lovely little brooch that was crafted. That's a fabric brooch. I think that was the crafty unicorn who sells at our craft fairs at Artcore made that, and I couldn't resist. It looks lovely on one of my coats, or you could put it on an outfit to embellish. Let's have a look. Oh, and then this one was fun. So this is one I made ages ago, and I'd got loads of these old chains. They're not real gold, but they're fun. And in a Vivienne Westwood style brooch, I threaded ribbon through the existing chain to give it a bit of an edge, and then I embellished with loads of broken bits of jewellery on one of these little puffs that we're going to make today. A little fabric puff that we can embellish onto. So we're going to have a look at how to do that this morning. So let me get my stuff ready. So what you'll need is some scraps of fabric. So I feel very Blue Peter style because I've over prepared as usual. So let's have a look. You'll need a fabric scrap. So what you need to do is find a circle shape. So if we put that down, let's do that so you can see what I'm doing. So we'll need something circular. So I'm going to use the chalk pot, and we're going to draw around that chalk pot. So I'm going to use yellow chalk because it'll show up better. So to do a circle, the thing about chalk is it rubs off and washes off, which is great if you're working with fabric. It's better to use chalk than to use a pen. But if you're cutting out where the pen is, you can use a pen or a biro if you want to. Chalk's a bit easier to do on fabric as well. It's quite a challenge to do a pen. So I'm going to cut out that circle that we've done. So this is a really quick way of making a little fabric puff that we can put a button in the middle of, and then we can build it up into a creation. So let's have a look. So if I cut around it, you don't need to be dead neat at this point. You can be quite messy, it doesn't matter. We don't need to, we also, with the edges, you won't need to do a fancy stitch or anything around the edges because you're not going to see that part. That part's going to be hidden. So you'll need quite a big eyed needle. So something like where you can see the eye of it. and that's going to be what we use today. You can use a thinner needle, use whatever needle you've got to hand, but I tend to like something that's got a bigger eye in for what we're doing. I love contrasting colours as well. So we've got an orange. Orange looks great against this colour. You're not really going to see the thread anyway, because we're going to gather up the stitches. Oh, there's a star there. Not sure where that's come from, but there we go. There's a star for one of you. I'm going to cut some embroidery thread, but we're not going to use the thickest side. The thing about embroidery threads is that you can separate them. They're made up of lots of little threads. Let me see. So I'm going to just separate 2 out. We're going to use 2, I think. I always just lick my finger and lick the end. It's a bit minging really, isn't it? But I always do that to kind of get the threads together, to just gather it together. I do that out of habit. I've never really thought about that before. And then we can put it through the eye. And then what I do, just to tie, I always tie stuff off because I lose the ends. So if you tie it off at the end, you only need a little bit of cotton for this. So just make a little knot, and then I always double knot it because I often, it depends on the thickness of your fabric, but double knot's quite handy. And then all you're going to do is go up quite near the edge, maybe 1/2 centimetre from the edge. You're going to go up, down, all the way round. So we're going to do that all the way round. It shouldn't take very long. So this is quite a quick technique. I love this technique. Kind of do everything in this really. So just pull it through as you go, and you don't need to pull it tight at the moment, but it'll start to gather. So this is quite a nice way. You can make necklaces out of this, but you can also make brooches or embellish existing clothes. I think it's probably a French sewing technique. I can imagine, along with like the little French knots that you can do and things. So let's have a look. If we do that, we're nearly there. There's a really satisfying part in a minute, hang on, where you gather it all together. Alright, we're nearly there. So I'd love to see the creations you're making in fabric. So if you want to share those at any point, do ask any questions. I love sewing and I've got loads of different techniques. So if you've got questions, do post them on here. Let me know that you're here. And even the men who are joining us, who might not want to wear a fabric item of jewellery, could make something for their wives while they're in isolation, get some brownie points. So it's like that. Can you see we've gone all the way round, and then we're just gonna, this is the satisfying bit, we're gonna pull it, woo, and gather it up. So we're gathering it up, and it makes that really satisfying little shape. I love that with the ruching. And then we're going to put a button over that part. So what I would do at this point is just tie it off. So I'd tie it by just going over the existing bit. Oh, hi Nikki, how are you this morning? You're on your walk to Aldi to get your shopping for the week, get your exercise in. Oh, is Dale with you this morning? Hi Rachita. So I want to see you back in the office after this is all over with your fabric jewellery, guys. This is what I want to see this morning. You can cut up old fabric scraps. An example of this is, I love this colour. I used to be a bit of a hippie at college, and I had some cords that were in this colour. And when they died and had holes in them, I cut them up to use the fabric. No fabric should ever be wasted. I know one of our participants, Precious, would say that. She's an advocate for always reusing and recycling. Yeah, and if you've got some stuff, like my husband has a tie-dye t-shirt that has holes in, and I intend to make it into a necklace, but he doesn't know yet. But maybe this afternoon I'll go and root it out. But if he knows, he might hear me. If he knows, he might tell me off. So So I might be sporting a lovely tie-dye necklace in the office. You want to, this is my lovely button box. I want to so I want to find, oh, thanks for the likes, guys. Somebody's crying. I'm not sure. Someone's angry. Oh no. Hope no one's really... I hope you're all happy this morning. We know it's a stressful time. Oh, thanks for the hearts. I want to find a contrasting button. So maybe not that one. That probably blends a little bit too much. So I want something... Oh, maybe the yellow actually. Since we've got to sew the button on, you've got your thread still attached and you can go up. You want to cover up sort of where you've gathered it together. So push it down and then you're going to push through. This needle's pretty blunt actually, which is quite good for this kind of work. So I can poke this needle and it's quite a big head, can you see? So it's not really sharp, but it's sharp enough to go through the fabric, which is great. You can always use a thimble. I've not got a thimble to hand. I think I've got my mum's sewing box and she must have had smaller fingers than me because hers are tiny. But you could get a thimble, or you can get, I think they're like silicone rubber thumb covers for when you're doing sewing, just to save your fingers. But I'm pretty sturdy. I do silversmithing, so I've got really like I've burnt my fingers so many times. I've not got that much feeling in them, so it's not going to hurt me. But if you're doing it with kids, you can get plastic needles that will be strong enough to go through fabric. But also these ones, they're not. Oh, Precious is here. She's upcycling is the way to go. Yes, Precious. I thought of you when I was designing this session. So let me show you. So I'll do... Like, oh, there we go. I've pulled it so hard it's broke, but that's fine because we've sewn the button on. And then we're going to just tie that off. And I realise how many times I lick my fingers to do this. So make sure you've got nice clean hands at the moment to do this. There we go. And you want to tie that off. So you want to make a number of them. You can vary in the sizes that you do. So I could have drawn around that, and that would make a bigger one. And you could use a bigger button, or you could do a smaller button. But I'm going to show you examples, because this is very similar to Blue Peter. I've got a few that I made earlier. So this is one that I made that's bigger than this one, so you can see the difference. So I used something that was more a bigger pot. You could even use a plate. A small plate or a plant pot. And then with this one, instead of doing a button, I did some embroidery to do a little flower. I cheated and I used a sewing machine for that. Oh, it's got a bit of fluff on it. Sewing machine, I did that, and then I hand embroidered some beads. But that gives quite a detailed, a nice detail to it. And I was making these ones to go round sort of the collar of an outfit, so that there was a few of them around. I thought that would look quite pretty. But you could also make jewellery with these as well. You could have them as a hair, like in your hair, which looks quite nice. I've made, here's a little pink one that I made into a brooch. So there's different ones that you can make with buttons. That one's got a brooch back. Which is a nice way, or you could even have it as an embellishment again for your top, with a brooch on. So I quite like the gold on this one. That's very girly. It was gold. I used pinks and brown felt for that one. Even little scraps of like sort of the netting, and then you can get quite a lot of detail when you're embroidering. Can you see all the different details on that? And using the embroidery thread again. So there's lots of things. But using this technique today, using this one, I made a number of those. So I'm going to show you. And then let's have a look. And then I did all different sizes. And then I stitched them onto felt. So felt is a really great, a great thing to use. It's nice and thick. So that's the back. So felt, I just stitched it. It doesn't have to be perfect. The stitching can be part of the design. So I stitched them, I double felted this. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So let me get a piece of felt out. And I'm going to do felt. This is one I prepared earlier. I'm going to do felt and I'm going to put it in the embroidery hoop. Hi Hyrule, nice to see you. Hope you're feeling well this morning and motivated. The sun is shining, so for those who've got gardens, get out and get some sunshine, or go for your daily exercise and enjoy the sunshine. So we've got our embroidery hoop here. The embroidery hoop basically just keeps your material really nice and tight. So that when you're working on it, you can make sure that it's not getting scrunched up. So I'll just show you an example of, this is a bit different, but this is an embroidery I'm working on at the moment. And I was practicing lots of different techniques. YouTube has got some great embroidery techniques. So all those different techniques, all the different embroidery. This is for my friend's new baby, and I was going to embroider the name there and then the flowers all the way around the outside. But you could incorporate also onto this some of the little embellishments. I think that might look quite nice on there as well. So think outside the box. It doesn't need to just be jewellery that you're making. So let's have a look. So I think I'm going to add onto this. Let's have a look. Let me see. We'll add on to this. How are we doing for time as well? Let me just see how much time we've got for you. We've got another, we've only got a few minutes, so I'll show you really quickly how to do this. So I'm going to use a different needle and some embroidery thread. Let me do that. We'll pop this on and we'll just show you how it makes it a lot easier when you're using the embroidery hoop. So let me get that through. Just lick the ends to get it through. You can use a needle threader. We bought some for our workshops because people were complaining like it's really hard to see. You need really good lighting as well to be able to thread a needle, or just practice. For some of you will be well practiced in the art of threading. But you can get a little embroidery aid, and it's got like a little wire loop on, and it's got like a metal part, and you push it through, and then you put your piece of cotton through the big part and then pull it, and it's great. It's a really good way of being able to do embroidery and thread if you can't, if it's quite hard to see. So I'm going to sew this on really quickly and then we're going to cut it out. So I'm just going to sew, really doesn't need to be perfect. No one's going to see this back part. So I'm going to put that on. You just want to make sure it's sewn on really well. So, but it doesn't need to be super neat because we're going to cheat and cover that up. So we're going to do that. Let's have a look. Also, today we've got our crafternoon slot with Iona at 1 p.m. and we've got our artist takeover with Natasha Joseph. So we've got a cracking lineup for you today. Do tune in, and all our videos are going to be uploaded to YouTube. So even if you're not present, if you're not able to make it, you can like watch it later, which is great. Great that we're getting a lot of our people from our workshops, but we're getting a new audience. So I'm going to add in a new button there just to mix it up. So there we go. Also, I wanted to just do a plug for Top Books. So there we go. That's an example of how you can start to sew it. Then all I'd do is cut out this part, whatever I'm putting on here. Oh, we've got a little leaf. Shall we add that in? So I'm going to sew a little leaf on. Let's put, where shall we put the leaf? Shall we put it? you can just arrange where you want stuff to be. So maybe a little leaf there, and then maybe a few more around here. Then I'd just cut it out and then mount it on another piece and sew. And then add ribbons as well. But I want to do a big up for some really good books that I've got. So this one is a great book if you're thinking about doing fabric jewellery. It's called Fabric Jewellery, and I've got a lot of ideas from here. And I love books with pictures. So that shows you how to do an embroidery brooch. Let's have a look. Oh, this one's a nice one. I've done this before, where you just cut circle after circle after circle, and then you just layer them up. So what they've used is different colours, and then they've just stitched in the middle, and then you can decide what you're going to put in the middle. You might want to put a gem, or you could do a button again. I am a button enthusiast. And oh, that's another one that's nice as well, doing fluffy flowers. I'll put links to books underneath so that you can have a look. Oh, they're the curtain. If you've got old curtain hoops, you can cover those in fabric. I'm just thinking of you, Precious, who's just joined in. I've got some curtain hoops that maybe you could cover in some of your fabric from Swaziland. They look really funky, and then you can make a really big chunky necklace. And let's have a look. I'm sure there's one more in here that's really nice. Oh yeah, there it is. This is a belt. Well, this is really beautiful. A belt. I don't know who's got a waist that small, but anyway, this is a lovely belt that's done as an orchid. So I hope you enjoyed this morning. I hope you feel inspired to get making your own buttony creations. If you've got any questions, just let me know on the comments section. And we can also, when we see you at the Artcore, when we're back at Artcore, we can chat and show ideas. And I want to see all the creations you've been making at home as well. Hope you enjoyed this motivational morning, and tune in again at 1 for our crafternoon. See you then. Bye.